it might be a myth, but I had heard my whole life that bumblebees can't actually fly mathematically, but they do it because they don't know that they can't do it. And I think being young and naive, I think a lot of us get away with things and do things that we don't think that anybody else thinks that we should be able to do, just because we don't know that we shouldn't be able to do them. My husband and I, as I had mentioned before, had this brilliant idea to start our family 3 weeks before we started residency. So our first daughter was born, we move away from our family, and we both start residency. He's a surgical resident, I'm a pediatric resident. And even though my schedule sounded pretty bad, I was on call every fourth night, I typically did about 80, probably, hours of work a week. It was nothing compared to his insane schedule that always would top 100 hours. Somehow we managed to juggle multiple babysitters and daycares and not only have one child, but two child, but finally a third child before I finally finished residency. We tried our best to make it seem like it was just normal. One of the things that we would try to do was if one of us was home on a weekend and the other one was working, if the night seemed like it was a little on the slow side, which it rarely ever did, we would pack up the kids and we would pick up takeout and we would take it to the hospital to share a meal with each other as a family. On this particular night, it was probably about December, because I had about a 1-month-old. And Chris was on call, and he was on call a Saturday, and I was home. And so I had talked to him a few times in the day, and the service was pretty light. So I did what we had always did, and I put all 3 kids in car seats, and I drove to a takeout place. And we didn't have cell phones then, so couldn't update me about what was going on in the hospital. And I picked up takeout, and I drove to Good Sam Hospital, and I parked on the first floor, and I put all the kids in the elevator. I had a system, the baby in the stroller, and the 2 kids at that point were less than 2 and less than 4, and hold on to the stroller, and I carried the food down the elevator into a tunnel that would attach to the hospital, and then up an elevator to a dark corner of the hospital in a room that had no windows, an old couch, a table, a refrigerator, set up our meal in the surgical lounge, and page Chris and say, "We're here for our family dinner." And the second that he walked in that day, I could tell by his face that unfortunately things had changed from the time that I had said I was going to pick up the dinner and I got there, and he had an emergency case, and so dinner was over like that. He gave the kids each a hug, and I reluctantly, put his food back in the refrigerator in the lounge, put the kids back in the stroller, and I wandered back to the car. I got to the basement of the parking garage and had to go up one flight of the elevator to the first floor, and I got on the elevator and acted like this was normal life. This is okay. This is how life is supposed to be. And we took a step off the elevator, baby in the stroller, 4-year-old here, the 2-year-old's not there. I turn as the elevator doors close with her standing on the elevator. And I pause for a second, and I see the elevator is going up, not down. So I grab the 1-month-old and grab the 4-year-old, leave my food on the ground and leave my stroller there, and I dash the steps and I run up to the first flight, peek out, no elevator. Run up to the second flight, peek out, no elevator. Run up to the roof, peek out, and there's a woman looking very confused, standing in front of my sobbing 2-year-old, and I'm holding a sobbing 1-month-old and a sobbing 4-year-old, and I'm trying really hard not to add to the crying. And I walk over and I thank her, and I gather up my children, and I put the baby, we go back in the elevator, down to the first floor, get my stroller, go to the car. I'm fine now. We get home, I transfer all the sleeping children to their beds, and they sleep through the night, and I don't even bother to tell Chris about it because there's no point in telling him everybody's fine. And the baby's up during the night, and I'm sleepless, and the next day is Sunday. And so Chris comes home around 12 or 1. Now, if you're a neurosurgical resident, it was winter. This afternoon was the only afternoon in probably an entire month that he would see daylight. And the first thing he said when he walks in the door is, "What are we going to do with the kids today? Where are we going to go? What are we going to do? Let's go to brunch. Let's go get dinner. Let's go shopping. Let's take them to the mall, to the indoor play area." My physical strength of carrying my kids up the steps was nothing compared to the amazing strength that it took us and him to act like this was just normal life. And we would take every minute we could, no matter how tired you were, and try to be a family whenever we had even a split second. Thank you very much.